and Her House Full of Cats by Alyssa, Satin, Capucilli. A lot of you guys read the Biscuit books. This is by the same author. She wrote this book too. Mrs. McTatz and Her House Full of Cats. In a small, cozy cottage lived Mrs. McTatz. She lived all alone, except for one cat. Every morning she left as the clock struck 8. To market, I mustn't be late. She browsed through the market and chose a plump fish for Abner and me. What a scrumptious dish. But when she got home, there came a scratch at the door. And when she walked, and in walked 2 cats. Was there room for 2 more? Come in, my sweet dears, said Mrs. McTatz. I'm sure I've got room for just 2 more cats. I'll call you Basil, and Curly you'll be. I only had 1 cat, but now I have 3. The very next morning, Miss McTatz woke early, and she stopped to pet Abner and Basil and Curly. To market, I mustn't be late. This chicken, I think, will surely taste great. But when she got home, there came a scratch at the door, and in walked 3 cats. Was there room for 3 more? Oh, come in, my sweet dear, said Mrs. McTatz. I think I've got room for just 3 more cats. Now give me a moment. What shall your names be? Your Dolly, your Ernest, and Fuzzy makes 3. She's naming them after the letters in the alphabet. The very next morning, off went Mrs. McTatz. What can I buy for my 6 hungry cats? I've got it, she said. I'll make a nice stew. So she carried home beef and liver to brew. But back at home there was a scratch at the door, and in walked 4 cats. Was there room for 4 more? Come in, my sweet dears, said Mrs. McTatz. I know there's a place for just 4 more cats. 10's a fine number. 10 cats and me. I'll call you Goldie, and Herman you'll be. Izzy and Jezebel pranced across the floor. And then, right behind them, followed 5 more. Coco and Linus, Millie, Noreen, and you shall be Oscar. That makes 15. It's a lot of cats, huh? The very next day, off went Mrs. McTatz. What can I possibly feed 15 cats? She chose a fine trout, but when she got home, her cats were all out. Uh-oh. She counted her cats from 1 to 15, but somehow 6 more cats joined the scene. Come, my sweet dear, said Mrs. McTatz. I'm sure I have plenty for 21 cats. Pip, Quip, and Rosebud, Sally, Tozy, and Ursula, dear. Make yourself cozy. But then came another scratch at the door. Could it be more cats? How many more? In came Violet, in came Winnie, and just behind a kitten named Zinny. In came Yodel, the last of the bunch. 24 cats all ready for lunch. But something was missing. What could it be? Mrs. McTatz just could not see. As she stood there puzzling, there was a scratch at the door, and Mrs. McTatz wondered, could there really be more? Could she squeeze in more cats? More than 25? Who was that one who was next to arrive? Come in, my dear, said Mrs. McTatz. I live in this cottage with 25 cats. But if you don't mind, you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to eat, and you're welcome to play. Now in that small cottage lives Mrs. McTatz with her 25 cats and little puppy who's known as Zoom in a small cozy cottage with plenty of room. And just when the clock strikes each morning at 8, Mrs. McTatz hurries off. I mustn't be late. To market, what treats will there be for 26 deers from A to Z? I hope you enjoyed that story, and my cat Catlin enjoyed that story.